Hello and a very warm welcome back to the garden. In this video, I'm going to show you 9 ways to water your garden that will save you a ton of time and effort, especially in the long run. We all know how important water is for plants, but especially at this time of year, not only are we trying to promote the germination of seeds and the development of seedlings, but because of the warmer temperatures, we're trying to reduce the stress that the plants experience, as in we don't want them to run to seed too early. But fortunately for us gardeners, there's a load of things that we can do to make our watering more efficient and impactful. The first thing that you can do is one of my favourites, and I find myself doing it more and more, and that's about timing your transplanting or your direct sowing with the rain. So if you live in a wetter climate like here, what you can do is either sow or transplant your seedlings either straight after some heavy rain or just before some heavy rain. Or if you're feeling a little brave like I did with this brassica seed bed, it was tipping it down with rain, and I went ahead and I direct sowed all of these seeds, and it meant I didn't have to water them because Mother Nature was doing it for me. And this is a result of sowing things in the rain. So just by timing it with the weather, it means it can save you a bit of time with having to water them in afterwards, because if the soil is saturated or is going to be saturated, then you can get on with some other things. The second tip is also related to timing, and that's about when should we water our plants. And the best time is as early as you possibly can in the morning. When the sun then starts to rise up to midday, that's when there's a lot of evaporation. So if you water as early as possible, it gives more time for the water to seep down into the ground rather than being evaporated by the sun. Now, about 2 or 3 years ago, I was watching one of Charles Dowding's videos, and he was using something like a barrel to fill the watering can, just like you saw at the start of this video. And this is such a useful way of making your watering more efficient, because instead of waiting for your can to fill up, what you do is you just dunk them in, get on with watering. And what we have is a pipe here that runs to our IBC tank water storage system. So after we've kind of half used this, I'll just stick the pipe in, turn on the IBC tank, and it'll just fill up naturally. And that means I'm saving so much time not waiting around for these watering cans to fill up using a tap. The third tip is to actually look at the way that you grow food. In my last video, I talked about how no-dig reduces the need to weed, but no-dig also promotes a healthy soil structure. So what you do is, by not disturbing the soil, you're not going to be compacting it, and you're allowing it to kind of create this fluffy, almost sponge-like structure, which makes it, firstly, a lot easier for the water to go down into the ground, because when it's away from the surface, it's not going to evaporate. But equally as important, it makes it easier for the plants to send down deeper roots, which allows them to reach more water. And that means that you're going to have more resilient plants if you have something like a short-term drought. One of the most important things to create a healthy seedling is to have a healthy root system, because that means it's going to do better at taking up nutrients and water. And to do that, it's about encouraging your seedlings, instead of watering from the top, encourage them to have water from the base, because if the water is travelling up, it's going to encourage the roots to go downwards. And the other thing is, it takes a bit of time hand watering seedlings, and it isn't very effective. So what I do is I have a few of these trays, I fill them with about 1 inch or 2.5 centimetres of water, and I put these in. These are some beetroot, and then my dad has sown a load of really nice looking sweet corn. I put these in like this, put a timer on my phone for 15 minutes, come back, swap these out, pour a little bit more water in, and put in some more seed trays. And it's just a really easy, no fuss way as you're doing your gardening business to get your seedlings watered the right way to encourage a really healthy root system, which means you're going to get really good plants as a result. Even though it's June, there's still plenty of sowing to do I love trying to sow as much as possible until the very end of the growing season. I'm just putting in a row of radish here. And it leads into the next tip, which is if you're sowing anything from seed, whether it's in modules or whether you're direct sowing it, then if you protect them or cover them with something like a plank for direct sown seeds or a bit of cardboard for module sowings, it prevents evaporation, which stops it from drying out. It's going to improve the germination rates of those seeds, and it's going to save you time having to water. So what I can do here is I can sow these radish, cover over, wait for a rainstorm, and then after the rainstorm, I'll just put this plank over, and then I'll check underneath it every few days as soon as I see those first signs of seedlings and take it off. And that's a really easy way to both reduce stress and also to reduce the time needed to water. When you have younger seedlings in your beds, it makes sense to go in with the watering can and just water over the top. But when you get more developed plants, for example, these potatoes, if you water over the top using something like a rose, then you're not getting very efficient watering, because the water is just repelling off the leaves, falling into the pathways. It's not going where you want it. You want it to go to the roots. So instead of watering over the top, what you want to do is water as close to the base as possible, just to increase the efficiency. And any mature plant that you have in the garden, just water as close as possible. And it's going to mean that the time you do spend watering is going to be a lot more impactful. If you're growing the kind of plants which are usually standalone ones, these are things like your courgettes, your aubergine, peppers, tomatoes, one thing that you can do to really help make the watering more efficient is, as you're transplanting them, create a bowl shape. So create a dip around the stem. And what this creates is this kind of collection vessel. So when you water low down by the ground, the water collects and it gradually seeps in and down towards the root system. The issue with, say, a flat surface is if you put on a load of water, it can just go and disperse in all sorts of directions. So by creating a bowl, you're concentrating the efforts of your watering, and as a result, your watering is going to have a lot more efficiency and positive impact. The final tip is actually, how do I know that something in the ground needs watering? These are small seedlings here, and so for small seedlings, I'll put my finger around an inch or 2.5 centimeters, and if I can't detect any moisture, then I need to give these a bit of a water. Now, if you have more developed plants, for example, these potatoes behind me or the peas behind me, I'll put my finger in 2 inches, and if I can't feel any moisture in the first 2 inches or 5 centimeters, then that is a good signal that they need a soaking. However, if I do, they're going to be okay. Those are 9 tips to help make your watering in the garden more efficient. Now, even though I do enjoy the process of watering, wherever possible, I do try and save time to just enjoy spending some peace and quiet here in the vegetable garden. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to leave them down below in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you guys again soon.